Here we go. You may notice on my live lecture on my slide, I had to do a quick patch there. I accidentally put live lecture number 1. But of course, we are in live lecture number 3 for Principles of Business. Can everybody hear me okay? Is the audio coming through all right? Good deal. Good deal. A few months back, I had to get a new webcam, although my computer has a built-in webcam and microphone. It just stopped working, and I got to tell you, I've been really impressed with this little plug and play. It's an HP webcam, and I think my audio is so much better. If the video can make me look 10 years younger, that'd be great too. That's all right. Let's go on to our announcements, everyone. We are, at the end of this week, we will be 75% complete with the course on Sunday. Woohoo! So keep up the hard work. Don't slow down. Don't get behind, because we know how hard it is to get caught up. We cover a lot of material in 4 weeks since we are a condensed class. So no time for lollygagging, right? Keep at it. Have all assignments turned in by Sunday, May 15th is our final day of class, and it's going to be here before you know it. It really sneaks up on you. So keep on top of things, and if things come up, please let me know. Contact me. I'm a very flexible person, and we can sometimes work with due dates if you've had an emergency come up. I don't want you to feel like it's the end of the world and you're not going to be able to complete the class. I want to be there to encourage you to help you when needed, okay? All right, we got people signing in. Wonderful. Glad you guys could make it. Let me get some names written down so I can be sure to get your points for this. There we go. Okay, final project, guys. I always like to talk about this a little bit. The purpose is to practice writing a business plan related to your core program. You notice I've got pictures of apples down there. I've got a picture of a core. I'm going to get the sunshine out again because it is inevitable that I will have someone say, you know what, Mrs. Snell, I may be in the welding program, but my heart is truly drawn to massage therapy, and I'd like to do my business plan on that. Don't do it. I want you to use your core program, okay? We want you to develop a business that may be related to what you're planning on doing in the near future, okay? So your core program, focus on that. The items on this page, those of you that are on a computer screen could probably see this okay. Let me get my pointer out. Let's go. I did have sunshine. Let's go with smiley face. Okay, the items that are in red are things that we have talked about during week 1 and week 2. We talked about coming up with company names, actually writing an executive summary we're going to be talking about today. We talked about the type of formation for your business, and there are 4 basic types in your book. And I just need to make a quick note on that. The assignment that you guys did where you told me what type of business you're going to choose, and then your type of formation, and you had to give advantages and disadvantages of the formation. Overall, you guys really did a fantastic job because you sounded like professionals in choosing an LLC or a sole proprietorship or a partnership. So good job. Hey, Jennifer, yes, the rubric is actually in week 4 in the final project. If you click on that, at the bottom of that page, you're going to see this very same rubric. So it definitely comes in handy as far as getting it in the right order and getting the correct items in. Also, you guys have chose if you're going to be using a product or a service. No problem. So we've covered a few of the key items, right? So let's hop into, real quick, our progress. Week 1, product service description is what you came up with. Week 2, company name and business form. So you should have those things ready to go. And now let's talk about our executive summary. Here's the thing, why is the executive summary so important? It's one of the first things they see. Let's pretend like you're trying to interest an investor or a bank loan officer. You want to get your foot in the door, and whenever you present your business plan, whether it be in print or say in PowerPoint or Google Slides, you might be actually presenting this to a group. This is going to be one of the first things they see. So the printed version that they initially go over may determine whether or not they even let you in the door to do some more explanation. So we want your executive summary to be fantastic. Okay? So because, like it says in number 3, this could be the only thing they read on your business plan. And if it's not interesting, if it doesn't catch their eye, they might just file 13 it. So write in an executive summary. These are very good tips, and you're going to need this because I have so many people that get stuck on this specific thing, on writing the executive summary. How should I word it? How should it sound? And I'm going to bring up some examples here in just a minute to show you. Okay, so number 1, executive summary should be on its very own page, whether it's in Word or in PowerPoint, Google Slides. At the top of the page, centered, much like I do the headings on the slides, it should say executive summary. You're saying this is what it is. They know, they don't have to guess what it is. At the top of the page, along with your company name. So executive summary, company name below it. Then you're going to have about 2 basic paragraphs in your executive summary. In the first paragraph, you're stating the business name, maybe the proposed location, and your proposed location needs to be very specific. I want you to research the town that you live in or the town that this business or service will be located. And I want you to tell me, hey, my proposed location is at the corner of 51st and Harvard, or at 2nd and Main, where, you know, whatever your street names happen to be. You're going to check out these locations. Would this be a good spot? Have businesses had good success there? Okay, so be specific. You're also going to present in your first paragraph a problem and a solution. So you're going to explain the problem in the industry sector that you are attacking, or the business that you're proposing. What issue do they have? You're going to personalize it so that even the least knowledgeable investor for the industry gets it quickly. The website B-Plan suggests that the purpose of the plan is to find investors, and if that is the purpose, you need to say so in that first paragraph. Let them know this is what you're looking for. And I love this on E. If you can't say it in 30 seconds or less and have your mom understand it, then you don't know it yourself. Okay? So this might be a great thing. If mom is around, you could fly this executive summary past her. She should be able to understand what type of business you're wanting to open, what the problem is in the current businesses that you see, and the solution that your business is going to offer them. So you're saying what the issue is, how you're going to make things a little different. Okay? Doesn't have to be mom, might be dad, might be a good friend. However, I taught you the idea of taking your business plan past people that you know and your business name past people that you know. So do this with your executive summary as well, or maybe someone else in the class, so that they can truly understand what you're looking for in that first paragraph. Does that make sense? Kind of breaking it down into what all needs to be there, right? Fantastic. Okay, second paragraph. So we're going to have about 2 paragraphs for our executive summary. In the second paragraph. Now, this might be on a second slide, or it might be on the same slide that says executive summary at the top. So you're going to include in the second paragraph your target market, who will buy your product or use your service. Is there a certain background, age group, or industry that you are specifically targeting? Also, are there competitors? Sometimes you do a little research on a business and you find out there are literally no competitors in your area, which could be amazing for you. Sometimes you have to reach out to neighboring towns or neighboring states even to find your nearest competitor. So you want to find out there. Oh, hey, Tony, sorry about that. Let me get your name down. No problem. So competitors, and what is your competitive advantage? What makes you better? What makes you different? What it is about your competitive advantage that will hopefully make you succeed and prosper over your competitors. Okay, so you're saying why you're special, basically, why you're special. All right, here's an example of a good executive summary. At the top, we've got executive summary. The name of the business, this in particular is actually a website, classjunkie.com. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing with your business name. Put it at the top. Classjunkie.com is an online service, so we're, specifically we know where it is, it's online, that will be developed and managed from my home office at 123 South Main in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. ClassJunkie.com will allow A, teachers to offer and manage courses, B, students to find courses, C, a marketplace to sell, buy, rent course material. Lack of centralized online resources makes it difficult to find adult courses and after-school programs. Instructors can't afford and don't use SEO, PPC, social, or digital marketing. ClassJunkie.com's online course catalog lets people find local, on-site, offline classes, so on-site or offline. So what makes this first paragraph really good is we've got the name of the business, where they're located, where the office will be, and then listed in ABC format are your advantages or your key things. You don't have to use ABC, you might use bullets. But the thing is, bullets are quick and easy to read. And when you're presenting to a group of investors, you don't want them to have to weed through a big paragraph trying to figure out what's going on here. So bulleted is good. It also says lack of centralized online resources makes it difficult to find adult courses and after-school programs. So this is basically a place where people can go to find classes and after-school programs. Okay, then in the second paragraph, they've done a little research. 44% of U.S. adults over 16 of 106 million people take classes. We're interested in learning more. Adults pay on an average of $101 per class. 90% of parents, 134 million, want after-school activities for their children. So this might be after-school enrichment activities. And they pay an average of $109 per week for this. Corporate and government training averages $800 per person. The annual learning tax credit is $2,000 per person. Our four main competitors are Skillshare.com, Betterfly.com, Craigslist.com, TakeListens.com. No competitor has class scheduling, instructor profiles, student feedback, or offers rent venues for courses. No competitor allows students to buy or sell used class materials. This will be what sets us apart from the rest. So you can actually borrow some of this wording if you need to. A little research on what's needed, They've pointed out who their main competitors are. You may not have 4 in your area. It'd be great if you could list at least 2. And then what makes them different. So can you see that this is a really great executive summary? It's told us all we need to know in 2 paragraphs, right? Then if your investors want to go farther in to your business plan, bam, they keep turning the pages, and that's what we want them to do. Here's an executive summary, a poor example. There's no heading, there's no name. I got an idea for an awesome business. I don't really know what the name will be or where it will be located. We will make things that's different for people who like different things. 97.3% of people like different things. We will have no competition because we rock. You should probably give us some money. So you can see there are a lot of negative things going on. Exactly. Stephanie's starting it off. Never use slang in an executive summary. Look at this and tell me, people, what are some other bad things you're witnessing in this executive summary? The slang definitely stands out. The spelling, yes. Bad grammar will set off a red flag immediately. Misspelled words, yes. Then you should probably give us money. So, 0 information on what it is, no details, that's right. No details, it's very vague. And poor format overall, and they really just don't even know what the name's going to be. I did my paper at 11:50. So is that referring to this? Yes, I do get those. I do. So yeah, maybe type this up on the phone on the way there, right? Someone forgot to do it. That could happen too. That's right. Okay, so from that poor example, I want you to think of these things. High impact messages. In your executive summary, I want you to use single spacing in the paragraphs. I want you to double space between paragraphs so that there is a definite break there, and do not indent the first sentence. Why do you say? Well, if we look back on these 2, on the poor example, it is indented and it looks a little less formal and maybe a little jumbled even. If we look back on the good example, there's no indentions, it's block style, and that looks a lot more professional, okay? Sorry, I gotta put my phone out of my pocket. There we go. So, block paragraph, and you can tell a difference, can't you, here? And this is more like you're reading something out of a book, okay? So, single spacing, double space between paragraphs, don't indent the first sentence. Also, block paragraphs create a more organized look. Headings are a label. Oh, and you just saw business, yeah. And bulleted list, engage your reader quickly. And you know, we use this a lot too, teachers do when we create handouts. We're generally not going to give you a handout that's a page long and 4 or 5 paragraphs because we know you're probably not going to read the whole thing. What we do is we give bulleted information because that's what we do, right? We graze for information, basically. We want it quick and fast. Pick the right words. Companies that communicate effectively have a 47% higher return to their shareholders. Communication is so important. Your message is competing with limited attention. In business, the right words can encourage your audience to stay with you, to get your attention. And the right words begin with the needs of your audience, being able to connect with them. And you can keep this in mind when you're doing your business plan too, making that connection. Pick the right words. I will spend an hour editing an 8-word sentence into 5. Thank you, Jerry Seinfeld. That's right, because it needs to be shorter. We don't want to get wordy in a business plan. We're not trying to show off our big words. We do want to appear professional, but we also want them to be clear and concise and include all the required information, right? Pick the right words, avoid slang and bias. Do not alienate yourself by using slang in written or verbal communication, and sometimes you have to think about this. You have to think about the age of the people that you're around, the gender of the people that you're around. Be aware of how you can effectively connect with all of the people in the room. You might see someone that's your same age. You'll connect with them more, and you might use the slang or the words of your age, and you want to resist this, okay? Because you want everyone to feel connected. Don't make grammar goofs. Grammar goofs will distract the reader. In fact, whenever I went back and pulled up this PowerPoint, the last time I used it was back in November, and on like the first slide in my announcements area, I noticed I had a misspelled word. You know, and I'm just like, oh no, I have spell check. I should have caught that very easily. Some political candidates do that. That's true, Stephanie. That's right. They do. They try to connect with everyone. So grammar goofs jump off the page, which is what that one did to me. Undermine your credibility, and use professional guide or check for grammatical questions before you submit this. Oh, I just had a thought on the top of my head and it left me. How they jump off the page. Oh, whenever I'm grading assignments sometimes, I can usually tell who has maybe added to a discussion board or submitted assignment through their phone, because I will sometimes get assignment submissions that the first letter in the sentences aren't capitalized. There's maybe some shortcut words thrown in there. There are auto-spell corrections where they didn't mean to add that word. So the same thing could happen whenever you're working on your business plan. So when you're presenting, some of you may recognize this movie. When you're presenting to your investors, possibly you, if you think about this movie, if anyone knows which one I'm talking about, Step Brothers, completely raunchy in some areas, but actually they were pretty spot on this area. They were dressed the same, they rehearsed it, they had their slides going on, they made their video, right? So they were on the right track until the boat crashed. So when you're presenting your plan, be on time. This means a little bit early, but not creepy early. 10 to 15 minutes is the general norm, not 30 minutes. Be prepared. Bring copies of your plan. So even if you're presenting on an overhead projector, be sure and bring extra copies of your plan in case there's an extra person there, or maybe you've already given them a copy of your plan, but not everyone has one. You want to be able to provide that. You want to look good because first impressions are so important. I always say go vanilla. Clothes, shoes, neutral. Hair up if you're female, or if you have long hair and you're male. It helps if your hair is out of the way, because then they're not looking at that versus paying attention to you and what you're saying. Medium makeup, medium jewelry. I say, you know, feel like church clothes. You don't want real trendy stuff to come in unless maybe you are doing a presentation for something that's in high fashion, that you're presenting your line, in which case you do want to represent your product. You want to smell good, you want to sound good, and you want to be ready for questions, which is probably the scariest part at the end of a presentation, because you've got a lot of people in the room that may come up with a lot of questions that you may or may not be prepared for. So be sure and practice. Be ready for it just in case. A few things about dressing for success. These have changed over the year. A visible tattoo can increase your credibility in some jobs. So I want you guys to think about that for a minute. Where might a visible tattoo increase your credibility? Say you're doing a presentation for a salon, for a tattoo shop, definitely, Jennifer. Okay, in some type of creative industry, right? Because it may sort of get you noticed. That's right. So in some, it definitely is. However, in others, you really still have to be cognizant of it and vanilla again. My husband works at MSSU in Joplin, Missouri, and they have a nursing program there, and they are so strict still with their tattoos. If you have a visible tattoo below a short sleeve shirt line, you can't get into their program. So they're not even okay with you wearing long sleeves to cover it up or using makeup to cover it up. If it's visible outside of your scrubs, you can't get in. And it really surprises me that they're still able to do this. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. They may eventually have to change that. So, yeah, it's something to think about. It really is. To me, it's kind of old school, and I'm sure they have their reasons behind it. I don't see as much of that. So that's in Joplin. I don't see as much of that in Tulsa, depending on which area you're going into. So your appearance is a powerful form of business communication. 50% of perception is through appearance. I don't want to say, you know, we judge people by their appearances, but your first impression really does count, and you want it to be a positive first impression. Don't let how you look get in the way of your success on the job or your success in getting your foot in the door and maybe getting that loan to start your dream business, right? Okay, nonverbal communication. This is really, really important, and I see examples of this every day. Every day. You want to try to make eye contact, reinforce the meaning of your message by making that eye contact with the investors, with the people in the room. Try to choose a nice tone of voice, not too high, not too low, not too fast, not too slow. Use appropriate facial expressions, use gestures and posture, because so many of these things are what can give you away on your nervousness level. So you really want to think about all of these different areas. You don't want to be doing maybe a gesture or fidgeting back and forth. I've seen so many examples of this where people do not realize they're doing it. When you're giving a speech, you've probably seen someone use the word quite a bit, and that definitely becomes distracting, doesn't it? Pretty soon that word is just almost the only thing you hear, and you want them to hear all of the other things that you've come to say as well. In face-to-face communication, only 7% of meaning comes from verbal content, while 38% comes from tone of voice, 55% comes from body language. So those are pretty big numbers to think about there. 85% of our learning is derived from listening. So I want you to think of yourself almost as a teacher when you're giving a business plan presentation. And I think this is fantastic. The graph on the right-hand side, percent of time spent listening. An hourly employee spends about 30% of their time listening. A manager spends about 60%. An executive or top salesman will spend about 75% of their time listening. And you don't really think about this, do you? You think of an executive or a top salesman as being the person that's giving you the information, but the really effective ones know how to listen to their client and how to listen to their employees. And that's where you learn the most sometimes, is just with that listening skill. So keep that in mind too. Verbal presentations, just a real quick overview. Some of these things we've already covered. The body, you're going to introduce your key points. Statistics, that would be your executive summary. The close, you're going to summarize what you've covered. Verbally signal to your people that you're at the end of your presentation. You've probably seen some before that just sort of trailed off and you thought, I'm not sure if this person is done yet. So you want to give them some type of a clue, a thank you, or something that lets them know that you're done. You want to give time for questions, indicate time for questions, be prepared for them. The more people that are in the room, the more questions you might have. And sometimes one person in the room can spark more questions from someone else as well. Use visual aids if you can, because we're very visual people, to increase the retention. And PowerPoint is only a tool, basically. It's what you do with it that matters. So with your visual aids, increasing retention, we remember a certain amount from what we've heard, but we remember so much more from what we've heard and read and seen. So you're increasing the chances of them remembering you more. And handling nerves, use a little bit of your nervousness, use a little bit of that adrenaline that's throwing through your body, but also you have to keep the anxiety in check, maybe with some deep breathing, maybe with some pauses. Something that makes people very nervous sometimes, especially when they're giving a presentation, is a pause. Some people just can't even do that. But it's okay. It's okay to take a moment. It's okay to gather your thoughts and slow down and to think about maybe a question that's come up from a potential investor. Lastly, almost lastly, what I want you to do, if you're faced with giving a presentation to a group of potential investors or to a bank, I want you to practice several times. Know your material, but don't have it memorized, because you don't want to come off as someone that's just reading. Look at your audience at least 50% of the time, and this is hard to do. Vary your voice, expression, and your body language. What we tend to do is we get really excited about a topic and we talk a little bit faster and we use a little more hand motions, and then the further we get into it, we slow down a little bit more. Maybe we don't use as much, and in the process we get a little boring. So you want to try to keep that energy either going up and down or keep it up so that people are excited about your project. Vary your voice, your body language. Use selective notes to glance at. Stick to your allotted time. If you have 10 minutes, be sure when you practice, that's how long it takes you, 10 minutes or under. Slow down. Listen to yourself. Don't apologize if you mess up a word or if you forget your train of thought, because it's perfectly natural, especially if you're new to this. Remember to use more natural gestures. And did I say practice? Remember to practice, okay? If we were doing this on site, we would probably present your business plans to the class so that you would get a little experience with this. So there's nothing wrong with doing that on your own, though. Okie dokie, final slide. You see how I announced that? That we're at the end. The end of our live lecture. One does not simply end a presentation without a thank you slide. So if you were doing a presentation and you had your slides together and you're trying to get them to invest, be sure to include a thank you at the end. And I want to thank you guys for being here, and I want you to give you a moment to ask any questions. How do you feel about how you're doing on the final project? You're making a little progress. You have an idea of where you're going to go. Does anybody feel lost on the final project? Did everybody fall asleep? That's what I'm concerned about. Okay, good, good. Wake up, because we still have another half of the day to tackle, don't we? All right, guys. Hey, as usual, be sure to call me, email me, Facebook me if you have any questions. I'd be glad to help out, okay? And that's all. So if you were raring to go, scoot on out of here. Thank you. I'm glad you came. And have a fantastic rest of your day. Awesome. Thank you. You guys are awesome. You should know that. Bye, guys.